So your website traffic is probably way up. I mean, more people are online now than ever before, which is fantastic news for you. But it does bring up a really important question, one that gets right to the heart of the user experience. How do you make sure your site isn't just getting clicks, but is actually useful and, enjoyable for every single person who lands on it? Well, the answer is something called web accessibility. And look, I know accessibility can sound like this big, scary technical thing, but it really doesn't have to be. All it really means is making sure every user has a good experience. That way, they'll want to stick around, use your services, and maybe even become a loyal visitor.
And here's the best part. You do not need to be some coding genius to make a huge difference, seriously. So in this explainer, we're going to walk through a few simple but super powerful things you can do to make your site way more accessible for everyone.
Okay, first up, images. We all use them, right? They're a huge part of the web. But what happens if a visitor can't see them? How do they get the whole story? Well, the answer is something called alt text.
So what is alt text? It's basically just a little text description you add to an image in the code. And what it does is, it gets read aloud by accessibility software, like screen readers, for users who might be visually impaired. The whole point is to give just enough details so someone can understand what the image is about without actually having to see it.
And trust me, the quality of that description really matters. Just writing a clown, that's pretty vague, but a clown with an evil grin holding a red balloon, whoa, now that paints a picture. It gives you the content and the feeling behind it. You're trying to find that sweet spot, descriptive enough to be useful, but not so long that it's overwhelming.
All right, that brings us to our second tip, page structure. This is a big one. You see, for someone using assistive tech, a well-structured page is like having a perfect, easy-to-read map. But a page with bad structure, it's like being dropped in a city with 0 street signs. Total chaos. So what are those street signs on your website? They're your header tags, H1, H2, H3, and so on. And they're not just for making text look big and bold. No. Accessibility software actually uses these tags to figure out the layout of your content. It lets users jump from section to section really quickly. Oh, and bonus, search engines absolutely love this kind of clear structure, so it's a nice little SEO boost for you too.
The whole trick is to use them in a logical order. You should have one and only one H1. That's your main page title. Then your major sections get H2s, and any subsections under those, they get an H3. Just think of it like an outline for a paper. It creates this clean, nested structure that's easy to follow.
And here it is, the golden rule, the one thing you absolutely cannot break. Ready? Never, ever skip a level. Don't go from an H1 straight to an H3. Why? Because for someone using a screen reader, it's just completely disorienting. It literally makes the site feel broken, and they might just give up and leave.
Okay, on to our third and final tip, and this one's all about color. Look, color is an amazing design tool, right? But if you rely on it as the only way to communicate something, you could be leaving a ton of users in the dark. I'm talking about people with color blindness or folks who just need high-contrast screens to see properly.
Just think about it for a second. If your text color and your background color are too similar, well, it can be tough for anyone to read. But for someone with a visual impairment, it might be completely impossible. And by the way, there are a bunch of free tools online that can check your color contrast for you. Super easy. And this is exactly why your instructions should never rely on color alone. Telling a user to click the red button, that's a total dead end if they can't distinguish red. But what if you say click the next button? See? That's a clear, universal instruction that works for everybody, no matter how they perceive color. Now, this doesn't mean you have to stop using color, not at all. Using red to highlight an error message, that's great. But it can't be the only thing you do. You also need to add, say, an icon, or just write out the word error in the text. You just have to give the user a second clue so they know what's going on.
So there you have it, 3 simple but really powerful tips. But maybe the most important thing to take away from all this is that accessibility isn't some project you just finish and check off a list. Nope, it's an ongoing process. It's a commitment that has to be part of your regular website maintenance.
Okay, so you've got the fundamentals down. You're probably thinking, right, what's next? How do I keep this going and make sure I'm staying on top of things?
Here are a few great places to start. First, do yourself a favor and bookmark w3.org/WAI. That's the Web Accessibility Initiative, and it's pretty much the authority on this stuff. Second, maybe look into some accessibility scanning software. It won't catch everything, but it's great for flagging obvious issues. And finally, just get into the mindset of checking regularly. Make it a habit.
Look, at the end of the day, making these simple changes will go such a long way toward making your website more welcoming and just better. So it's worth taking a minute to think about your own site through this new lens. Your website is your digital front door. So let me ask you, is yours truly open to everyone?